very warm welcome to Dusty Shelf. So a bit of an epic build today, and a little bit of a story. So this is the Tamiya TT02. Absolutely fantastic beginner's car. Comes with all kinds of kits and all kinds of bodies, but essentially the chassis is always the same. Very basic and has a lot of play in all the joints. You can see here a lot of movement, and essentially there are all kinds of upgrades that you can put onto this car, and you can take it from being just the basic out the box runner that it is here, which is a great little car, don't get me wrong, and you can tune it up to become a race spec. They do different versions of this. They do the SR and the R and all kinds of different basically hopped up versions of the TT02. But what I wanted to do is I started off with this one. This is my original TT02, and I started upgrading bits of it and realised that actually I'm going to build one from the ground up and just put some hop-ups on it. And it's got a little bit out of hand, as normally things that I do get out of hand. And over the last 6 months I've been picking up bits and pieces to hop up the car. So I've got an awful lot of racing bits for the suspension, a lot of hop up items here. This is the carbon filled chassis. So basically it's not carbon fibre, it's just carbon filled, so it's a really stiff plastic. We'll come to that in a moment. And I've got another video on the channel where I've wrapped this in this carbon effect to protect it. So that's already done. I've got titanium screws, I've got ball differentials to go in. So it's going to be a bit of an epic build. Really looking forward to it. I'm going to go through each of the hop ups, tell you about them, and list them on the video as we go, and see how it compares to the original when complete. It's cost me an awful lot of money to get all these bits. Not sure if it was well worth it, but as I say, I've been doing it gradually, so I've not really, you know, noticed a few quid here and there. So it's not been the end of the world, but hopefully when it's all together, it'll be a really nice kit and worth the effort. So let me get all these back to one side. Now my plan is to actually follow the build sequence in the instructions. I've got the original instructions here, but then sort of show the original build, what came with the kit, and then the hop-up item that I'm replacing it with. So yeah, as I say, let me get these back in the box and let's make a start. Okay, well, step one on the build is the drive shaft and the flywheel. Now I've got the uprated flywheel from Tamiya. This is a proper Tamiya part here. Now I do want to change the spur gear over, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. This one on here is a 68 tooth. This is the one that comes with the hop up option. It's the high speed hop up, which is the spur gear and the little shaft in the middle there, and you also get a little pin to put through. And then these are two separate hop ups and the Tamiya drive shaft for the middle. So these are, as I say, these are all Tamiya parts. Now I'm going to change the spur gear over from 68 tooth to a 64 tooth, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll do that off camera, and then we'll come back and assemble with these bearings. Now the bearings, I've actually bought the TT02 kit from rcbearings.co.uk. Now I've had bearings from this guy before, or this company before, and they're really good quality bearings, and yeah, I'm looking forward to putting those in because they should run really smoothly, so they should be pretty good. The other thing I just want to talk about was the chassis. So this is a glass reinforced, I think I said carbon fibre reinforced, I'm not sure if it's glass or carbon fibre, but basically the plastic is a reinforced plastic, and it's really stiff. If I get the original, this is the original kit, you can see I can flex the chassis, or with the glass or carbon inside the part. I'm pretty sure it's glass actually. It's really stiff chassis, so this is actually an upgrade option. Again, I'll put the number in when I edit the video. And then I've just wrapped it with vinyl. This is just vinyl wrap, so it's carbon fibre wrap. I just chose this because I thought it would look good. I've got a video on the channel showing how I did this. It literally just sticks on, and then you put it on with a hairdryer just to stretch it around the edges, and it's come out really well. Not so sure on the inside, I'm not sure about that, but most of this will be covered with the battery and other things. But on the outside, looking really good, and it will protect the chassis so it won't get all scuffed and scratched underneath. I can always peel this off and replace it. So that's the chassis. So I'm just going to change this over, and then come back and we'll mount the drive shaft into the car. Okay, well, no real dramas there. I've just changed the 4 screws out and changed the cog over. You can see the difference in size there. If I just bring those up to the camera, this one being 68 and this one being 64. So this will just make it go a little bit faster. Not too fast, just a little bit. Right, let's get some bearings. Okay, what have we got in here? So just move the sticker to one side. Larger bearings. I think it's these ones. Okay, that goes on there. Oh, they do feel good. Yeah, they feel very good. So let me make sure I get this around the right way. That goes on there. This drops in here. Then the gear mounts on like so. And get that onto there. Can't get the little shaft to line up. There it goes. Okay, another bearing. And that mounts on the end, so that's the assembly for the rear, and that drops in there like so. I'll tell you, those bearings do feel really good. Very impressed with those. Video's not sponsored, just thought I'd say that. It's just as I find it. That mounts on there, that goes in there, and that drops into here like so, again with the other gear mounted on. Put that round the wrong way, that way round. And drive shaft mounts in between like that. Right, now we mount the there it is. Racing mounting kit. So we have in here the first of the air components. Let's see what it says. So we've got those 2 mounting plates, set of screws, and spacers. Right, we've got spacers in here so we don't over clamp the mounting positions. Right. Okay, so that's the rear one, mounts on like so. And then the same on the other side. Okay. Not really a lot to that. And that one just mounts across that way round. Okay, now I do have the next hop-up item, which are a set of titanium screws. Now, I'm not totally sure whether, I would hope that it does come with the screws for these. And here, you've got a little box with it to put your screws in. I certainly don't want any of these to roll away. I am going to use these fixings that I've got here. I think these are, I'm not sure, because these are countersunk. Right, let's put these in for now. So, spacer. Right, well that all feels free running. I'm just going to knit these front ones up just a tiny bit more. Okay. That feels, yeah, very nice indeed. Okay, that's the drive shaft in. Onto the next page. So, assembling the differentials. So I'm going to pick this up again in the morning. I'll just move these out of the way. Now the differentials I've got for this, if I can find them, are in this box here. And I've gone for ball differentials. Now the reason I've done this rather than going for the oil diffs is these give a sort of a limited slip as well as being a differential in there, I believe. So I've got a front and rear one of these to be put together, and I've also got ceramic bearings to go in them. Yeah, ceramic bearings, ridiculously expensive for what they are, but an upgrade from the TRF Tamiya Racing Factory. So yeah, put these together in the morning and we'll drop them into the car and see what they look like. Well, I thought I had to stop. I've actually got a little bit more time this evening, so let's cut one of the ball discs open and let's see what we get inside the kit. Now again, these aren't the cheapest things to purchase. Right, and we've got the assembly diagram there with all the components that are needed. So in here we have the complete setup, and there are the normal stainless steel balls that go into the differential. Now, as I say, I've got these ceramic balls, very, very expensive, silly amount of money really for what they are, and I really don't want to lose these, so I'm going to be very careful with them and actually put them straight in the pot. A little TRF Tamiya Racing Factory sticker and all 10 bearings. Just make sure all 10 of them go in here. Okay, right, pop that to one side. So the assembly sequence, we need to put the bearings in. I think I'll do that first. This bearing pushes into the middle. I am going to put that in because I don't have another one. The kit comes with the bearings for the outside. It doesn't come for the one for this differential. And in terms of the grease, we've got the ball diff grease here. I did buy a big tube of this, so I've got plenty of it. And I'm just going to put a little bit of grease in each of the holes, just to hold the ball in there. Right. Okay. Right, let's put some bearings. Just two there. One in that hole. One in that hole. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 8. Just 4 bearings in the set. Put those in 10. I'm good in there. 9. Okay. And the final bearing. I'll pick it up. Need more grease on my finger. There goes. 10. Right, let's just push these bearings home. Just going around and just pushing them into the plastic. That's it. Two more, one there and that one there. Okay. Right. Now the thrust washers. One on this side. And I am going to put just a tiny bit more grease on this side. There we go. That's just about all of the grease out of there. Okay. And this mounts on one side. Let me make sure I get this around the right way. And this mounts on the other side. Again, making sure this is round the correct way. Like that. Okay. Right, and then the assembly. So, one metal bearing. Around this way, sorry. Let me just get a little bit more grease out of here if I can. So I'm going to put some on those metal bearings before they drop down in here. So there's one metal bearing and the other metal bearing. Okay. And we've got our washer assembly, making sure I get these round the right way. That's to that side, and then one that way. And that mounts onto here. Let me just double check that looks wrong. Okay, those two. Right, let's start again. One there, and then one that way. This pushes through the middle from that side, like that. Thrust washer mounts on that side, and the whole of this assembly goes down through the centre, like so. Right. And now do up this screw. Okay, it's holding it all together quite nicely. And then there's one on this side as well. Feels very smooth. Right, one turn back from fully tightened position, it says. So I need to put that in, hold that with the key, and now that's fully tightened. And then okay, that's one turn. Wow, that feels very loose. Right, well, I knew I'd done something wrong, just didn't feel right. And what I've done is I've put the locking nut in. That's supposed to go in, this one on this side. This is like a locking nut. This is supposed to go in after you've done all of the adjustment on the bearings. That feels beautiful. In fact, I'm going to tighten that just the tiniest bit. Maybe half a turn. Let's feel that now. That will do absolutely perfectly. Right, and now this one gets locked off on the other side. Right, that then slides on there. And the two drive cups go either side once we've got the bearings on. It feels very smooth. Yeah, I like that a lot. Now, the drive cups that I've got on here, I've got a couple of the drive shafts that I'm using. Right, now the drive shafts, these are from Racing, and I don't know how they're going to fit in these cups. These are absolutely huge, so I have what I'm hoping is a smaller set. I'll just slide one of these drive shafts out. Bear with me. Right, so that is absolutely ginormous in there. You can see it's rattling around. So in amongst this little lot should be a set of drive cups, like these smaller drive cups. I'm hoping these are going to fit these drive shafts. Let's have a look. Well, they're the right size there, and perfect size there. Couldn't be better. So these big ones that come with the ball differential, need to take that out and fit these slightly smaller drive cups in there, like so. Well, it's the following day, and you can see I've put the second differential together, again using the ceramic diff balls in there. And I just thought I'd do a very quick update, or a recap, shall we say, on where we got to so far. So, in terms of the chassis, this is an upgraded chassis, glass filled, so much stiffer than the original TT02. The drive shaft, you can see, is the Tamiya drive shaft, aluminium drive shaft in here, replacing this old plastic one that came with the original kit. We've then updated the cups, so these over moulded plastic cups have been updated with the Tamiya equivalent to match the drive shaft. In terms of the spur gear, this is the high-speed spur gear set on the back here, and I've put a 45 tooth spur gear in there. Differentials, so ball differentials, I've gone for the ball differentials over the oil upgrade purely because I wanted a sort of limited slip in there. I've actually made the front one a little bit stiffer than the rear one, so hopefully that will aid with the handling. Now, the original kit came with gears in the differentials. It's works absolutely fine, but these are a lot smoother, and putting the ceramic balls in there, I mean, I'm not sure if they're worth the money, but they certainly feel very, very smooth indeed and very nice. The cups that came with the differential, these larger cups, I've had to replace those because I'm actually putting in drive shafts from racing, so I've changed those cups so they fit the drive shafts. And then, as you can see, I've put the racing bearing holders either end of the chassis just to hold the bearings in. And then finally, the bearings, I've bought those from rcbearings.co.uk. They feel very, very smooth, very nice bearings. So yeah, all coming together quite nicely, and time now to get the gearbox casings on and finally use my titanium screw set. Well, roughly following the sequence of assembly, I'm going to add in the gearbox casings. Now, I've put some ceramic grease onto the bevel gears at either end, and I've got the gearbox casings here. Let's make sure I get these round the right way, that way round, and this one on this end. And yeah, finally get to use my titanium screws. So, right, again, following the instructions, the next is the upper suspension mount. I've got these racing components. These are the upper suspension mount. I shall put the part number in the description again, or in the caption. Let's just slide these open. Really nicely machined these are. Yeah, very nice indeed. Let's just move that to one side. Yeah, from Racing. Now, you can buy aftermarket one of these, but you know, for the money, there's not a great deal in it between the proper ones and the aftermarket ones. And you know, these are machined lovely, and you're actually buying, you know, from a reputable manufacturer, if you like, rather than somebody that's just copied their design. So that one goes on that end, that one on that end. Let me just make sure I got that round the right way, that way round. Okay, and again, I'm going to do these up with the Racing titanium screws. One there. Right, now I'm not actually sure why I bought this bit, but it wasn't particularly expensive, and I thought it might offer a little bit of protection to the prop shaft. Bought this from JKRC. I think this was about £7 or £8. It wasn't particularly expensive, but I probably don't need it in terms of the stiffness because I've got the uprated chassis on there. But I guess if you're not putting the chassis on there, this could be a good little upgrade. And as I say, not overly expensive, but does go in now whilst I'm assembling the suspension components. So let's pop that in first. Right, suspension arms. So these are Tamiya components that I've got, so let's get those. Uprated carbon damper stays, hop-up options from Tamiya. So let's have a look what we've got in here. I've not actually had a look at these, so open these out. You can see the carbon fibre there. And then we have a bag of consumables. Let's see what's, or hardware should I say, not consumables. Now, let's have a look at the instructions for these. These replace the plastic uprights, as you can see here. So these have the suspension mounted to them. These replace those. Just having a look through, so let's do the front first of all. So upper front suspension arms. So front suspension arms, yeah, racing. I'm just going to take this out of here. These are the upper suspension arms for the front. Both of those. We've got some grub screws to put in. I'll just pull the instructions out of here as well. I've torn them. Okay, so a little bit of grease at either end. Right, let's just make sure I get this round the correct way. So they point backwards that way. Right. So that slides into there, and then this mounts through here and onto there. Okay, and then the rear, drive cap falling off. So the rear uprights, or the rear suspension, are these components. Again, I'm just going to slide these out of the bag for now, and I'll set them up later. Little spacer there, where does that go? Ah, I see. Mustn't lose those. They go either end for the little. So these little spacers either end have these pins through them when we come to assemble the uprights, so I mustn't lose those. Right, again, yeah, racing components here. These are the rear upper arms. Now you can choose which way up these go for high ground clearance and low ground clearance. For my particular model, I'm going for the high ground clearance, which means I mount these. If I can get them out of the packet. Yeah, so if you want low ground clearance, you mount them around that way. If you want high ground clearance, you mount them around this way. Okay, and then this side the same. Right, I've taken the drive couplings out just so I can turn this up the other way. Now, I want to put my, let me just make sure these are at the correct length. There we go. Right, let's put these rear trailing arms in. So, open them up. These again are, yeah, racing, and these fit very similar to the upper arms on the rear, in that we've got a couple of shafts there with some circlips to hold them in place at one end, and then the components drop into the chassis, and we've got the lower, yeah, racing suspension arm to screw onto the rear of the chassis to hold them in place. So let's get these out. Those, and that fits onto the rear of the car like so. And I just want to make sure that I get these around the correct way, so they look symmetrical. Yes, they are. Okay, so they're fine to go straight on. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on either end. And that one could go in there. Okay, and the one on the other side. Again, the same thing, put a little bit of grease on either end. Okay, and then I need to do that one up. And we need the roller bearings. Okay, so final set of RC bearings here from the RC bearing company. Take those out. They can go into the hubs, one on each side. They do fit beautifully. Bearings in, drive coupling located. That's more like it. That's much more like it. And that half shaft goes through like so. That fits over the top here. And these screws come in from the rear like so. Okay, onto the front arms. Yeah, racing again. Just open up the packet. Slide those out. Okay. Right, these fit round this way. Right, let's grab this piece. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on either end of these. Suspension arms, there and there. That goes in like that. That drops in like that. Same with this one. Front uprights, again, yeah, racing. And we've got the suspension screws as well. They're not suspension screws, they hold them in place, but let's cut these open. Okay, right, bearings. Side, on that side. On here. And one here. Drive shafts. Yeah, racing drive shafts. Shaft, it's got the drive shaft. Now I have to say, considering how much money these were, there's still an awful lot of play in the suspension. I didn't expect that. I thought these would be there's a lot of rattle in there, and I am going to have to shim that, which I shouldn't really have to do. Well, I don't feel I should have to do it, but yeah, maybe I got it wrong. So these are for the shock absorbers. One there, and one there. Well, it's certainly looking the part, if nothing else. Really does look good. Looking very professional all of a sudden. Right, that's those done. Okay, right, I need to put on the clamps to hold the bearings in. We've got the Tamiya clamps for those. Right, these are the Tamiya clamp type wheel hubs. I'm going to pop these on just so that they stop the bearings from falling off. I don't want to lose any of these bearings. So as you're probably aware, these have a little pin that goes through the shaft, and then these slot over the top with the cross hairs, but these are upgraded ones in that they've also got a screw inside them and they clamp onto the shaft as well. So I am going to put a little bit of nylock on these as well, if I can find. Right, let's get these front ones on first. Let's have another little recap. Well, let's have a very brief recap. So, moving on from putting the gearing in, we've put the engine covers on. These are just stock plastic. Well, let's have a little bit of a recap. So, moving on from the drive system, we've put the gearbox covers on. These are just stock, straight off the sprue. Held on with titanium screws. They're from Yeah Racing. Onto the gearbox casing, we've mounted the lower and upper suspension mounts, both of those from Yeah Racing. The upper carbon fibre mount that you see here for the shock absorbers, that's from Tamiya. And basically the droop arms and the uprights, all from Yeah Racing. Drive shafts, all from Yeah Racing. And essentially this all replaces all the little plastic components that come with the main kit. So we've got plastic drive shafts that are over moulded, plastic cups that are over moulded, and then these plastic arms. That's all been replaced on here to give this, you know, well, it's a beautiful finish, but this certainly looks the part. But the bit I'm a little bit disappointed in is, always annoyed me, the amount of play that you get in the base kit. And there's still quite a lot of play in here. So I am going to have to get some shims to still shim out these attachments. I'm guessing it's the plastic, that the two parts aren't absolutely spot on. But yeah, I'll have to put a couple of shims in there. Which is, yeah, I just think would have been nice for this to be, you know, really precision manufactured. Differentials feel great, bearings feel really good. Overall, really pleased with how it's going. So next step is the motor. Right, well, my motor of choice for this build is this one, a super stock RZ 23 turn Tamiya motor. Brand new in the box, as you see. Let's slide this out and let's have a look at it. Well, certainly a good looking motor, that's for sure. So what are we going to do with this? Well, what we're actually going to do is replace the bearings in it, which at the moment look like phosphorbronze. I'm going to put roller bearings in there, again from RC Bearings. This is the bearing kit, 2 bearings here for this motor. Well, I hope it's for this motor, I think it is. And these were about £1.50. The bearings, that is. The motor was a lot more expensive, but yeah, let's give it a go. What can possibly go wrong? Brand new motor, let's change the bearings. So, first thing is, let's lift the brushes off, if I can. Take the spring out. Oh, that was close. Let's do this one a little bit more carefully. Just unhook. I'm going to get some long nose pliers on that one. So that's disappearing across the workshop. That's a little bit more controlled. Okay. Right, and let's just pull those brushes back a little bit. Right, now if I undo the screws either side, just check my screwdriver bit over. They can undo. Okay, now I'm hoping this will just slide off of here, which it does. We can withdraw the armature very gently. Cool, that's a stuffed magnet. Okay, pop that over there, 23 turn. Now in the bottom here, I'm going to get a piece of wood so that if I put the screwdriver down there it will get stuck. There's a little washer. I'm going to bring that out. Okay. Right, now we just need to very gently remove the bearing, I'm hoping. Okay, hopefully one phosphor bronze bearing there. Okay, that one's out. Let's get one of these to put back in. The only thing is, with it being magnetised, it's suspending my little bearing in the centre of the motor. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not falling down through gravity. So this could be quite fun to do. Well, that was a lot of trial and error with various pencils and bits of wood and ends of paintbrushes. But the way I did it in the end is I got one of these little screwdriver bits that fits through the bearing, and then very gently lowered that into the housing, held the housing, rested that on the vise, and then just very gently tapped on top of the screwdriver, and it drove the bearing in. So yeah, bearing put into the motor housing there. So now I can reassemble this side. So we'll put our washer back on. Hang on, this way round. Put that back into the roller bearing. And yeah, I'll give that a little oil in a moment. And let's see if we can slide this bearing out on this side. So again, a little brass washer this time. Take that out. Okay, hopefully this one will come out a little bit easier because it's into plastic. Yeah, there we go. So that's that bearing out, and we'll just push this bearing into the top here. As I say, should be fairly straightforward. Do it the same method. Just like that. Oh, this one's a lot easier. There we go. Okay. Put my little washer back on there. And then we can remount the motor. Let me make sure I get this round the right way. It was that way. Okay, brass bearing is in, and that fits on there. Then we've got, oh, let's make sure I get the right screws. That screw goes in this side. Maybe I need one on the other side as well, just to make sure that the whole ring is level. That might be the trick to it. There it goes. Yeah, there's just a little trick to making it work. Okay, well the motor turns, so just put the brush springs back in and then we'll put some power through. So that one goes on to here, and like that. That's one motor spring. Right, straight out the box, let's put some power on it. Cool, that's what you call a powerful motor. Right, I'm going to put some oil on the bearings. Let's see if that's quieter. Wrong way round, let's do it this way. Yeah, quite happy with that. That's gone quite well. Right, I'm going to put a 27 tooth pinion gear on this motor. So let's slide this out of here. This is going to be this one, I believe. Let's just compare them. I think this is the one. Yes, it's this one. And we've got a grub screw to fit out the motor. So the motor needs to go through, that's 24, 25, 26 and 27 is round here. So let's mount the motor here and here. The grub screw. Okay, let's slide the motor in and let's see how that lines up, if it'll even line up. Okay, that looks pretty good actually. Even if I do say so myself, that's not bad at all. And yeah, a couple of screws to go on the base. So I'm going to use these, the screws that came with the fixing for these, because I haven't got enough titanium screws. Rather frustrating, it doesn't give you enough titanium screws to mount everything. These are countersunk anyway, so they're not going to be seen. Well, that's in, that's looking good. I'm going to move the pinion gear just out slightly, just so that it lines with the cog, just a fraction. There we go. We're moving on to get the steering components in. So we've got steering arms here, again from Racing. See the assembly complete with the bull races in here. Let's get the components out. Now these, I'm not going to use the titanium screws on these. I'm actually going to use the parts that came with it. Okay, so let's get these mounted. So we've got a couple of inserts which fit through here, and then the screws just fit down on top. And yeah, these just sit either side. So just put that insert in. Come on, I just want to get these components in and get the servo mounted. I've still got waiting on another delivery of a few parts. One final batch of bits. I've got the shock absorbers in there and the turnbuckles. So when they arrive I can get the build finished. mounted. Right, I'm just going to put the wheel nuts on. So these are TRF wheel nuts, anodized blue. I'm just going to put them on the axle so I don't lose them. Servo. So we need a servo saver, which I've got here. So I've got an uprated servo saver and servo horn. So we'll get those put in. Now the servo I'm using on here is by Endura. Now it says on the specification for these are 14.4 kilogram servos, but at 6 volts they've got 0.08 second movement, which if you know much about servos is pretty quick, and these are around the 20 quid mark. So for a 20 quid servo, if they are indeed that quick, that's really, really good value. Now, it seems a little bit too good to be true. I did put one on my F1 car, and I'm not totally convinced how quick they are. But, yeah, needless to say, it for that money, I'll give it a try. You know, for a servo that kind of speed, you're talking normally 50-60 pounds at least. Right, so that mounts onto there, and then we've got springs to fit. So 3 springs. So this is a uprated servo saver. And you fit these 3 springs in place. So there's 2 that go on first. Let's get these right. So these 2, right, that's the second one in, and then finally the third one. Like so. Aluminium component like so. And then we've got, before I do that up, in this other bag is the finishing touch, which is the Tamiya final plate that fits on the top and makes it all nice and neat, like so. Okay, right, and servo saver on. Right, now this servo I'm going to mount onto the mounting blocks that I have. If you forgive me for 1 minute, I'm just going to get another, and these are hop-up aluminium servo step screws. So basically these have a little step in them. I'll just show them to you. You can see they're machined just with a little step. So when you put your servo in like so, it doesn't crush the edge and holds the servo still. Right, I have these little pieces to fit for the servo stands. So I'm going to fit, let me make sure I get this around the right way. I've actually fitted this up the wrong way for a start. Let me undo that again. Whoops. Okay, that's the servo in. And then the final thing for this evening is just to mount on the bumper stays. I've got one in this box. Where is it? I did see it. It's in one of the trays. I've got the battery casing to put on as well. See that one? There it is. Got the battery in the bumper on the front to mount. And you can see the little carbon fibre piece here. Just to mount on the front. Make sure I get that up the right way, that way round. And get a couple of screws in there. Right, last couple of jobs for today. I've got another foam block to fit onto the rear. This one I will trim to size once the body goes on. And we've got a carbon support for it. I'm just going to screw that in place for now. So I need a couple of screws. Right, this is a part I actually already had. So this is the Tamiya upgrade for the battery post. You see it just mounts in like so. We've got another one of those plastic parts that come off the sprue. Where is it? There it is. This one fits in the rear like that, and as I say, it has a couple of body pins in just to hold it in place, and that sits on there, holding the battery down. And then the final thing I want to do today is just to put the body posts in, and then I'm really just waiting for the postman to deliver the shock absorbers and the tyre struts and get this build finished. There we go. Right, I'm going to pause the build there and wait for the other components to turn up. Well, finally a delivery from the postman this morning. A couple of days have passed and shock absorbers have turned up. So let's have a look what we've got in here. A set of plastic, set of rubbers. These are the big bore dampers from TRF. These are Tamiya Racing factory dampers. Got a set of nice spring seats there, and then the uprated, these are Teflon coated, or I think they're titanium coated, I don't know, something like that. The little damper shafts are upgraded as well, and we've got the instructions here. So time to put these together. Don't they look superb? They do look really good. Yeah, beautifully machined. Yeah, really nice indeed. And also the nice big springs on there, looking good. Right, so let's get these put together. And right, first things first, let's take the cylinder end off. And the top cap as well. Then we've got one of the larger O-rings. Right, and this one goes inside the spring adjuster. Right, so that comes off of there, and then this just drops inside like so. Perfect. Now we can do that back up. Obviously the little O-ring in there stops it shaking loose once you've got it set up and adjusted. Compression on here, so one, pop that onto there. Put the little compression cylinder with the holes in for the damping onto there, and then the other E-ring. Right, just off camera I've put a tiny bit of oil on that because it was quite tight to turn. So let's pass the damper through here, and I'm going to use this 300 oil in there. A tiny bit on the damper shaft, and put the clear rubber seal on like so. There we go. And then this cap, let me just make sure I get this round the right way. So this goes onto here like so, and then finally that goes on the top. I've got the damper together. So yeah, really nice bit of kit. So I'm going to drill out the top of these with a 1mm drill. If you just have a look on this side, you can see it says here to drill the caps with a 1mm drill to let the damper breathe. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to pre-tap the fittings so that when the dampers go on, they screw on quite nicely. So let me just do that off camera, and I'll come back once I've drilled those holes. Well, my son's just popped in, and yeah, show me what I should be doing here, and give me his handy little tool here for holding the suspension while you fill them up with oil. Also pointed out all the things I've done wrong on the chassis build, so we'll come back to those in a minute. But off camera, drilled the holes in the tops of these. So 1mm hole, just drilled that through, so the diaphragm's got a little bit of breathing space, and tapped out the this side, sorry, tapped out the threads into the ends there, ready to mount those on. So as I say, damper oil I'm putting on here is the soft, it's a 300, so let's just pop that into here and fill this one up. Tiny bit more, that'll do. Okay, I'm just going to let the air bubbles come out of it. That's pretty good. Okay, and then the cap goes on, and the little piece for the top cover drops inside the metal ring. Let me just wind that on. Like so. Okay, that's the damper. Oh, yeah, pretty good. Okay, and then we're going to put on the end, as it says, this component already tapped and ready to go on. Just get it started. Okay, just wind that on. By tapping it, they wind on beautifully. Look at that. Just noticed I haven't put the urethane bushing underneath the cap, so let me just take this back off. And put one of those in there. That's it. Do that back up. That's better, feels much better. The spring goes on, and then the spring seat on the base here. Perfect. There we go, one shock absorber. Right, I'm just going to wind down the spring seat. There we go. Right, I'm going to go ahead and build the other shock absorbers exactly the same as that, and yeah, put these together, and then I'll go back and make the corrections to the car. Those of you who know about these things will have seen that I've put the rear uprights round the wrong way, and I've missed some bushing out on the front, but yeah, we'll come to that, come back to that in a moment. As I say, I'll just finish these dampers first, and yeah, bring the car back through. Well, as I say, my son popped in, told me that I'd put it together all wrong, and so I've corrected on the back end here. I basically set it up for the short wheelbase, so I've switched these lower control arms through 180 degrees to set it up for the long wheelbase, which fits the body I've got for this. The other thing I've done is I put these on the wrong side, which meant I had to toe out, and actually I needed 2 degrees toe in, so I've switched those over as well, so no harm done. And while I was at it, I've actually shimmed out some of the spacers in here just to make this a little bit less wobbly. I've still got some more shims coming to go in here. I didn't have any to fit those at the moment. And then back to the front here. Now, I mentioned this movement here that you can see moving up and down. Now, in my defence, my eyesight's not terribly good, and on this piece of paper here, if I use my screwdriver to point, in this sort of greyed out area, there's this tiny little writing here which says original part A6, which is a plastic bit off the sprue. So here's A6, here's A10, and those parts sit above and below the new steering knuckle. So I do need to pop these screws back undone and put those parts in, so I'm going to do that now. These plastic bits were missing because the screw head only just holding the ball joint on. Made all the worse that my son found it. Right, there we go. So next job, suspension. So I'm going to mount these onto the chassis. More hop-up bits, so let's bring these into shop. So we've got here the low friction step screws. I'm going to use these actually on the bottom here and reuse these lower fixings at the top if I can. So I'll just undo those, pop those to one side. Right, let's get a couple of these out. And yeah, let's mount the suspension. That's the first damper on. Okay, and don't forget these, they go on one way round. There is a lead in on one side, so yeah, do make sure you get them around the right way. That one and this one. There we go. Right, let's hop up the turnbuckles. So we have here aluminium turnbuckles in blue. Just take those out, and we have the low friction adjusters. Get another hop up here. You just take those out of here. Okay, so servo arm one. Okay, right, that's that done. More turnbuckles, so another couple of turnbuckles here, and I do have the shorter hop-up arms, which should be the correct ones, for the link between the steering arms and the uprights. Doesn't look too bad. Let's put the ball joints in. These ones are the low friction ones. So 2 of these on each side. Again, I'm going to put them in with a little bit of nylock on them. Thread lock, I keep calling it nylock. Show my age. Okay, that's that one done. There we go. Steering's hooked up. So, just the wheels to go back on, or to go on, should I say, and then we've got electrics to drop in, and we're ready to go. So, that's the steering on, all hooked up. Doesn't that look superb? What a great build. Yeah, over the moon with it. Certainly cost a lot of money, but hopefully it'll be worth it. But as I say, first things first, let's get the wheels on. Well, my set of running wheels is going to be these this set here from the RCA. These are, let's have a look, well, made by Ride Racing Tyres, extremely sticky. These are actually the ones from last year, so they're not this year's current race tyres, but very, very similar. There's not a great deal in it. You can see the tread on there. So these are very, very sticky tyres, so should be quite grippy, I'm hoping. There we go. Just the electrics to do. Well, where do I start? Running this for the first time, I'm blown away. The speed, the acceleration on it, absolutely wonderful. The way that it's stuck to the road, brilliant. Is it a handful at the moment? Well, it's all over the place, as you saw. It's really, really difficult to drive. Probably because, well, I know it's because it hasn't been dialed in at all. So I've got wrong suspension geometry on here. It just needs setting up a little bit better, and then it will be very poised on the road. But yeah, it was great fun to take it over the park. And yeah, looking forward to the weather getting a little bit better again, so that I can go and run it a little bit further. So was it worth the money? Well, bits of it were, bits of it weren't. Definitely the suspension upgrades were worth the money. I do like the carbon fibre on the suspension uprights. Now, a little bit disappointed in the Racing Wishbones, because there's still a lot of play in there, and I've had to, you know, buy an extra set of bushes to put in there, which, you know, I didn't realise I'd have to do. Really pleased with the motor, really pleased with all the other hop-ups, and the steering's great. Steering is really, really sharp and direct, and I love this servo, the Endura servo, really quick. But things like the uprights, front and rear uprights, I'm not sure whether they've actually done anything to improve the stability or drive of the car. Most of it, to be honest with you, is for looks. The hardened chassis, the carbon filled chassis, that's definite must for me. It's made it extremely stiff. Not sure whether the upper chassis has made any difference, because the lower chassis are extremely stiff, but yeah, that's a definite upgrade, I would suggest. And also the on the hubs that have the bolt connection onto the axles, they're a definite must. I also like these little open covers here, so you can see the drivetrain, but I do worry about getting too much grease and dust in there on the grease. That's why I haven't greased the cogs on there, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And then one final thing to mention, obviously, is the carbon wrap that I put on here. You see all the dirt falling out of the car as I've turned it over. Really pleased with the carbon wrap. It looks superb, and it's protected the chassis when I ran it. Did exactly what I planned to do. So all in all, was it worth the money? Probably not. Have I enjoyed doing it? Absolutely. It's been great fun, and it's a lovely thing to have. And I'm looking forward to getting the body complete on here. I've actually got a pickup truck body to go on here. I haven't started it yet, but when I do get round to it, going to do a sort of pearlescent coat of paint on there, and it's an old Chevrolet pickup truck that should really look the part on here. So yeah, join me in the future on the channel as I build that body and pop it onto the chassis. Anyway, I'm going to leave this there. If you enjoyed the video and found putting all these hop-ups of interest, then please do give it a thumbs up. And why not check out the channel? I've got lots of stuff on there. There's lots of radio control stuff on there that's, it's pretty much anything that interests me. Everything from roller coasters to modern railways, and a lot of radio control cars, and pretty much all of my hobbies are on there. But yeah, if you're like-minded, then I think you might enjoy some of the videos. So please check out the channel, and if you can subscribe, helps me out, helps the channel out. And with that, I'm going to leave this there and just say thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.